When we search for intelligence, we tend to look way out there, to the stars, or deep inside the complex code of AI. But what if one of the most powerful and frankly ancient forms of intelligence on our planet has been right under our feet this entire time, hiding in plain sight?
So that's the big question we're digging into. Can something without a brain, without a central nervous system, actually learn, remember, and make decisions? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. And believe me, it challenges pretty much everything we thought we knew about what it means to be intelligent.
Think about it. When you walk through a forest, or even just down the produce aisle at the grocery store, this is what you see, right? A simple mushroom, the familiar cap and stem. It seems like a pretty solitary, almost inert thing. Just another piece of the landscape.
But here's what most people don't realize. That mushroom is just the tip of the iceberg. It's the tiny, visible part of a massive, hidden biological network. The real story is a sprawling, intelligent web that connects an entire ecosystem. It's like a living consciousness in the soil.
And that, right there, brings us to what scientists have beautifully nicknamed the Wood Wide Web. It's a living, breathing internet made of fungus that's been operating for hundreds of millions of years, long before we ever came up with our own digital version.
So, what's the secret sauce here? It's something called mycelium. Picture this vast underground web of tiny little threads. They're called hyphae that work like a superhighway. But it's not just moving goods. This network is shuttling water, nutrients, and critical chemical signals between plants and trees across the entire forest. But it gets even crazier. This network does so much more than just move resources around. We're now discovering this isn't just some kind of biological plumbing. It's an active information processing system that has a kind of electric memory. You see, this is a huge shift in how we think about this. For the longest time, we just saw mycelium as passive plumbing. But new discoveries are showing it's an incredibly active network. It actually sends out electrical impulses in response to its environment, a lot like the neurons firing in our own brains. It processes information and, this is the most amazing part, it shows signs of memory.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how can something without a brain actually have a memory? Well, this quote from some recent research really gets to the heart of it. At its core, intelligence isn't always about consciousness. It's about using information from the past to make better decisions about the future. And that's exactly what fungi do. They remember past events, like a drought, to respond better the next time it happens.
And what's so fascinating is that memory isn't just for complex brains. It's like a fundamental property of life itself. Just look at this. Even simple bacteria use chemical and genetic memory to remember past infections or where to find food. Fungi fit right into this picture, using their bioelectric memory to send information and learn across these massive networks. Okay, now this is where things get really wild, where science fiction basically becomes science fact. We're actually moving past just observing this natural intelligence, and we're starting to harness it. We are building living computers, taking fungi from the forest floor and putting them onto circuit boards.
To get this, we need to talk about a little piece of tech called a memoristor. See, a normal resistor just resists electrical current, but a memoristor is different. Its resistance changes based on the electricity that's flowed through it in the past. It literally remembers the flow of electricity. This is the key to building computers that can think and learn like a brain. And as it turns out, fungal mycelium behaves like a natural biological memoristor.
So how in the world do you make a circuit out of a fungus? Well, researchers have developed this incredible process they call myceliotronics. First, they grow a really dense paper-like skin of mycelium. Then they very carefully coat it with a super thin layer of conductive metal. And finally, they use a precision laser to literally etch complex electronic circuits right onto this living biological surface. And what they've created is, well, it's a total game changer. These mycelium circuit boards have really high conductivity, they're incredibly flexible, and you can even use them to make biodegradable batteries. But here's the real kicker. They are almost completely compostable. They break down and return to the earth in just 11 days. Think about what that means. This could be the end of electronic waste.
And this isn't just about cool new circuit boards. This breakthrough is throwing open the doors to a whole new field of AI called reservoir computing. We are literally at the dawn of a future that could be powered by life itself.
So, what exactly is reservoir computing? Let me break it down. Imagine instead of writing a super complex computer program line by line, you just tap into a system that's already incredibly complex by nature, the reservoir, and you let it do the heavy lifting. You feed it information, let its own natural dynamics process it, and then you just read the answer that comes out. A fungal network with its millions of interconnected threads is a perfect natural reservoir.
And right here, this is the aha moment. On the left, you've got a computer model of how mycelium grows. On the right, a diagram of an artificial neural network. I mean, look at that. The similarity is just unbelievable. It's as if nature, over millions of years of evolution, already perfected the best possible design for processing information. We're only just now learning how to read the blueprint.
Okay, it looks cool, but does it actually work? Well, this number right here is all the proof you need. A computer model based on these mycelium principles was given a standard AI test, recognizing handwritten numbers. It achieved a stunning 97.09% accuracy. So no, this isn't just a theory. This is a seriously effective way to compute, and it came straight from the forest floor.
So why does any of this matter? What's the big picture here? Well, this technology could solve some of the biggest headaches we have with modern computers. It's totally sustainable, grown, not mined. It can be self-repairing, it's adaptive, and it's potentially way more energy efficient than silicon. This isn't just another option, it's a completely new, living paradigm for technology.
You know, all of this really brings us to one last huge question. For decades, we've been trying to build machines that can think, but we're now finding out that nature has been building thinking machines for eons. It forces us to wonder, as we search for the next big leap in technology, should we really be looking inside a silicon chip? Or should we be looking beneath the forest floor? Is the future of our technology, in fact, biological?
Don't go anywhere, hit subscribe and we continue.
You know, it's funny. Nature has often already solved some of our most complex engineering problems, long before we even knew we had them. Today, we're going to dive into how the biological blueprint of one of the planet's most formidable creatures is being used to power the future of medicine. The answer, it turns out, is hiding in plain sight, inside a living, swimming power plant.
When you think of an electric eel, you probably picture something out of an action movie, right? A silent hunter that can deliver this massive jolt of electricity. And, well, you're not wrong. But what's really happening inside this animal is so much more sophisticated than just a simple shock. It's a straight-up masterclass in biological power generation.
The electric eel is, for all intents and purposes, a living power plant. Get this. Using its 3 specialized electric organs, it can unleash hundreds of pulses, reaching up to an insane 860 volts in just a couple of seconds. This is how it defends itself and how it stuns its prey, making it an easy meal. It's an unbelievably efficient system perfected over millions of years of evolution. So what's the secret sauce behind this incredible ability? It all comes down to a special kind of cell, the electrocyte. Now, the easiest way to think about these is as tiny biological batteries. Each one only generates a teensy little charge on its own. But here's the magic. The eel stacks thousands of them, one after another in perfect series. So when they all fire at once, that tiny charge multiplies into a massive, powerful discharge. It's literally nature's perfect battery array.
Okay, so this remarkable biological feat has of course caught the attention of scientists, and it led them to ask a really fascinating question. Could we actually learn from the eel? Could we copy this natural blueprint to build a completely new kind of power source, one designed not for hunting in a river, but for working safely inside the human body?
To really get why this is such a big deal, we first need to look at a major hurdle in medical tech. Let's call it the implant power problem. Because, as it turns out, powering devices that have to live inside of us is incredibly difficult.
You're looking at devices like pacemakers and defibrillators. These are absolute lifelines for millions of people. They're constantly monitoring and managing heart rhythms. But they all share one critical vulnerability: their battery. And a battery failure in one of these isn't just an inconvenience, it can be a life or death situation.
And the checklist for an ideal implantable battery is it's incredibly demanding. Of course, it's got to be tiny, but it also needs to be soft and flexible so it doesn't damage all the delicate tissues around it. It absolutely must be biocompatible, meaning it won't leak toxic stuff into your body. And in a perfect world, it'd be biodegradable, breaking down safely after it's done its job, all while holding enough power to last for years. It's a truly monumental engineering challenge.
This timeline really shows our progress. We went from these bulky, pretty primitive batteries in the 50s to much more stable lithium-based ones in the 70s and 90s. And today, we rely on these super efficient lithium-ion systems. Each step made them smaller and last longer. But here's the catch. They all share the same fundamental problem. They're rigid, they're encased in titanium, and they're just not compatible with the soft, dynamic world of the human body. We've kind of hit a wall.
And this
This is where our story comes full circle. To get past that wall, researchers turned away from conventional engineering and they looked back to nature, and specifically, back to our friend, the electric eel.
This slide just illustrates the whole idea perfectly. On the left, you've got the Eels method, stacking up thousands of living cells that control the flow of ions to create a voltage. Simple, elegant. And on the right, that's the human innovation, a synthetic version using tiny droplets of a water-based polymer called a hydrogel. These little droplets are engineered to do the exact same thing, separate ions to build a charge. It's a direct copy of nature's design. Just brilliant. So how do they actually make this thing? Well, it all starts with biocompatible hydrogels made from silk. They're formed into 3 different droplets: a cathode, an anode, and a separator. Then, a 3D printer assembles these tiny cells with incredible precision. And finally, and this is my favorite part, they fold the whole film up using an origami technique. That single fold is what stacks all the cells, bringing them into contact and creating a working battery, just like in the eel. How cool is that?
The end result is something completely new. It's a soft, flexible power source that acts less like a machine and more like, well, living tissue. So what exactly makes this biobattery such a revolutionary piece of tech?
All right, so this device, officially called the lithium-ion droplet battery, or LIDB, basically checks every single box on that impossible list we talked about earlier. Because it's made of hydrogels, it's naturally soft and flexible. The silk base makes it both biocompatible and biodegradable. You can even trigger it to turn on only when you need it, and it packs a ton of energy into a tiny package. This just might be the solution the implant power problem has been waiting for.
And the ambition doesn't even stop there. As researcher Michael Mayer says, the ultimate goal, the holy grail, isn't just to implant a better battery. It's to create one that could potentially recharge itself using the body's own energy. I mean, just imagine that, a pacemaker that never ever needs replacing. That's the future this tech could unlock.
So, the crucial point here is that this isn't just about a clever new battery. This eel-inspired technology, it represents a fundamental shift, a whole new paradigm for how we think about mixing electronics with the human body. For decades, our entire approach has been to encase our rigid, fragile electronics in metal boxes to protect them from the body. This new paradigm is about building electronics that don't need protection because they're made from the same kind of soft, water-based materials as the body itself. We're moving from hard tech to soft, living hardware.
And the potential applications are just astounding. We're talking about those self-recharging pacemakers for sure. But what about smart contact lenses that could project a display right onto your vision? Or soft, biocompatible robots for surgery? Power for tiny health sensors that monitor our bodies from the inside? It's the dawn of a completely new era in bio-integrated technology.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. The electric eel provided this beautiful, elegant solution to a really complex problem, one that was just swimming there in plain sight the whole time. It really makes you wonder, right? What other incredible blueprints has nature already perfected, just waiting for us to finally discover them?
Don't go anywhere, hit subscribe and we continue.
You know, we're living in 2 worlds at the same time. There's the physical world, the one we can actually touch, and then there's this second, invisible world that's made of pure information. Every single click, every photo, every transaction, it's like a new star lighting up in a digital universe. And that universe is expanding faster than we can even comprehend. But here's the thing that almost nobody is talking about. Our second universe, it's running out of room.
By next year, as a species, we will generate 180 zettabytes of new data. Now, let's just try to get our heads around that number. A zettabyte? That's a 1 with 21 zeros after it. If you try to store all that on Blu-ray discs, the stack would reach the moon 23 times over. This isn't just a stream of information anymore. We are creating a biblical-level flood.
And that forces us to ask what might be the single most important archival question of our time. How do we build a library that's big enough for our entire civilization's memory? And not just a library for today, but one that can last for centuries, maybe even longer.
To answer that, we first have to really appreciate the scale of the wave that's about to crash over us. This isn't just a ripple. This is the data tsunami. Just look at this curve. It's not a line. It's a sheer cliff face. We went from just 3 zettabytes in 2010 to 64 in 2020, and now we're staring down the barrel of 180. See, this isn't just growth. It's a runaway chain reaction. And the technology that we're counting on to save us, well, it was never, ever designed for this.
For the last half-century, we've put all our faith in silicon. Hard drives, flash memory, magnetic tape. But the sun is starting to set on the age of silicon. We're finally seeing its fundamental limits, and we're getting dangerously close to them. The way we manage all this data right now is with a kind of pyramid. All the hot data, stuff you need right this second, it lives on super fast, super expensive SSDs at the very top. Then there's the cold data, the archives we rarely ever touch. That gets dumped onto cheaper, slower stuff like magnetic tape at the bottom. The problem is, that bottom layer isn't a layer anymore. It's growing into a mountain. And here's the core paradox, the real kicker of our modern storage problem. It's this idea called access density. Think about this. Our ability to store more data on a drive is exploding, right? But our ability to get that data off the drive, it's basically flatlining. It's like building the entire Library of Alexandria every year, but you only hire one librarian with a tiny flashlight to find any of the books. We're hitting a wall. A herd wall.
You've all heard of Moore's Law, right? That sacred text of Silicon Valley that promised everything would get twice as good every 2 years. Well, for data storage, it's officially over. That magical doubling that powered our world for 50 years is dead. We simply can't shrink the bits any smaller on these magnetic disks. We have literally hit the known limits of physics.
And it's not just the physical limits. There's this massive hidden cost. Our whole digital world is built on a foundation of toxic chemicals and just monumental amounts of energy. Data centers are basically becoming black holes for the world's electricity. And maybe worst of all, our storage is disposable. Every few years we have to copy our entire history, all of it, onto new hardware. It's this endless, incredibly wasteful cycle that just isn't sustainable.
So we've hit a wall. Our best engineering is failing us. But here's what most people don't realize. The solution to our most advanced technological problem, it might not be in the future at all. It might be 4 billion years in the past. So what if the answer we've been looking for isn't in engineering, but in evolution? Get ready to meet nature's hard drive, the perfect information storage system designed at the very dawn of life itself.
The solution is alive. It's DNA, the same molecule that writes the blueprint for every living thing on this planet. The concept here is both incredibly simple and, well, profound. We just translate the binary language of our computers, the ones and zeros, into the genetic language of life, the 4 bases, A, C, G, and T. We literally turn our digital files into physical, synthetic DNA molecules. So why on earth would we do this? Well, the answer is density. It's just mind-boggling. On the left, you've got a state-of-the-art data tape. On the right, the potential of DNA. A single gram of DNA, 1 gram, could theoretically store every movie, every book, every song, everything humanity has ever created, all of it. You could fit our entire civilization's data in the trunk of a car. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a total redefinition of what is possible.
And then you have durability. Hard drives fail, tapes degrade within a decade. But DNA? Get this. Scientists have pulled readable, usable DNA from a mammoth that was over 1 million years old. When you store it correctly, DNA is, without a doubt, the most durable information storage medium known to exist. It's built for eternity.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's not. It is happening right now. So let's take a look at how scientists are actually translating our digital world into the language of life. And the epicenter of this revolution? It's right here in the United States. In university labs in Boston and biotech startups all over California, there's a quiet race going on to perfect this technology. And it's backed by some very serious investment from both the government and private industry.
And if you need proof of how serious this is, look no further than IARPA. That's the super advanced research arm of the U.S. intelligence community. Their MIST program isn't just some research paper. It is a direct order to build a working tabletop machine that can write a terabyte and read 10 terabytes of data per day, all using DNA. Let me tell you, when the spies get involved, you know it's the real deal.
So how does this whole pipeline work? Okay, first, some clever software encodes your digital file into a sequence of DNA bases. Then, a DNA synthesizer, the right machine, builds the actual physical DNA molecules. Step 3, you store them, which can be as simple as a tiny dried speck at the bottom of a test tube. Then, to get the data back, a DNA sequencer reads the molecules, and finally, software decodes those sequences right back into your original file. It's that straightforward. And this is where things get really elegant. The old way of writing DNA, called chemical synthesis, was a pretty dirty, harsh process. But the big breakthrough is something called enzymatic synthesis. Instead of nasty chemicals, scientists are now using the exact same molecular machines, enzymes, that life itself uses to build DNA. It's clean, it's water-based, and frankly, it's just copying the homework of a system that's been working perfectly for billions of years.
So what does all of this mean for our future? Well, it means we have to completely rethink what an archive even is, to stop thinking of it as a fragile, power-hungry warehouse and start seeing it as a permanent biological library.
This chart right here shows the economic endgame. Look at those blue and red lines. That's the cost of our current storage systems. It's just a nightmare of endless migrations, hardware failures, and massive energy bills. Now look at the green line for DNA. It's flat. Once the data is written, the cost to keep it safe for a century, it's basically zero. You write it once and you are done. Forever.
It's exactly what Emily LaProust from Twist Bioscience meant when she said, "This technology gives us a store it and forget it mentality." Once it's written, our digital archives can be preserved for thousands of years with zero electricity and zero maintenance.
You know, we started this journey just looking for a better hard drive. But what we ended up finding is something so much deeper. It's a convergence, a merging of our technology and our biology. We are on the verge of encoding our entire civilization, our art, our science, our deepest histories, into the very same molecule that encodes us. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. What happens to us as a species when our digital soul and our biological soul finally learn to speak the very same language?
Thanks for watching. Support BioVellum by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Let's explore the secrets of nature together.